Good evening. Good evening, people. Today is Sunday. It's the 2nd of August, 2020. We're down here in Finsbury Park. It's a warm day, but not as hot as the couple of other hot days we've had. I was down in Hackney yesterday, Saturday. A couple of open air kind of things happening in the square down there, and I was down there at the market as well. I've done an interview at the market, so you got to watch out for that. It's about renters and people being evicted. At the end of the month, they'll start evicting people, and there was an organization there that is helping people not to get evicted. So that's part of what is happening at the moment. So it's about the 4th. Well, it's a month now, going on to a month since they've eased up on the lockdown. But in fact, we've got a different kind of lockdown happening. So Finsbury Park once again. It's about 2 p.m. Temperature out there is about 23 degrees. The days before we had 25 and 30 degrees. So it looks like we're going to get a little bit more cooler, and we are going into the autumn of things. So the leaves are going to start falling off the trees, and it's going to start getting windy and rainy, and we're going to be going into winter. So this is where we're at, Finsbury Park. This is another area in Finsbury Park. We have one or two people enjoying probably the last days of summer. Usually around this time the temperature just drops. It just gets, when I say it drops, as in during the day and at night it just gets colder. Just around now. Actually no, in a few weeks time it really drops, and it might be one of the windiest and rainiest autumns that might happen, but that's at the end of August, September, beginning of September. And at the beginning of September, the government has mandated that all the kids have to go back to school. But currently, from yesterday, they have a major problem that the virus is on the rise, and they are trying to mitigate how to get the kids to go back to school. Now, yesterday they've chucked so many things into the fire, but none of it is actually implemented yet. So it's only a pre-warning. So one of the things is that they're going to shut the pubs. They're going to shut the pubs in order for the school to open. I don't know how you work that one out, but the other thing they may mention, in order to avoid a second pandemic, well, not a second pandemic, a resurgence of the pandemic, or the resurgence of the virus, they're only talking about and not implemented that if you're over 50, then you will be mandated to stay in isolation. So they said the 80%, or I think it's something like 80-90% of the people that died during the current outbreak of the virus is within that age group from 40 upwards. So they're talking about that. Also, the other thing they're pushing is for people to get healthy and get fit, because if you're overweight, you're more likely to succumb to the effects, and less likely to recover. Well, not less likely. That adds to the chances, lessening the chances of recovery. If you've got a good body mass index, meaning not being overweight and not being too fat, then they say you have a higher chance. The chances are more on your side for survival. So the government is mandating that, and also with that, it's not mandating, but advising that, and given £50 to you to take to the bike shop to help you repair your bike, or I think purchase a bike. Also on Monday, you can collect a £10 voucher from the government to go and spend in a participating restaurant. So these are some of the things that are happening at the moment. But the most poignant thing out of the last 24 hours is the government's. Well, first we have a lockdown down there in Manchester and the north of the country being England, and they have a mandatory lockdown where people have to, I'm not quite sure on the specifics of it, but I guess people can't go out and associate, go out and socialize. I think the pubs are locked down. You can't have any other member of your family, a very limited amount of people you can see and meet, including members of your family, including people staying over. So it's a real lockdown. So it's like we're still in about, for them it's a full lockdown up in the north. For us, we on about 70%. 70% of the restrictions have been eased, but it's increasing in different ways. Like there are certain places from Spain. If you travel from Spain, you got to go straight into isolation for 14 days. And there are some airline companies actually, as people are abroad, they're actually telling them your flights are being, if you don't come home now, you won't be able to come home, because it's either they shutting down the service and wrapping it up and tying it tight, in the sense that the business is closing. So there's all types of different things going on. I'm not going to say it's all kind of chaos, but in your life, you got to work out what works for you. In my life, I just finished paying one of the car bills for another year, but I haven't used the car for 6 months, and the way the virus is going, it looks like this is going to be around until Christmas, until next year. So literally I won't have used the car for a year, and I've paid all the car notes, to use the American term, paid all the car notes, and I haven't used the car. There's no work, because I'm in the entertainment industry. There's no work there. That's on a complete lockdown, and look, that it might continue to be a lockdown, because there is a reoccurrence, or the people being infected is rising, and it seems like it's rising all over the country. Even heard mentioned on the news report that London itself might be specifically locked down. So it might be something like you can't drive out of London, to go anywhere. And I wouldn't know what situations or conditions that would allow you to do that under lockdown conditions. So there is talk of that. So as we're easing out, well, I don't know if we're easing out. We're easing out of the restrictions that are stopping us moving, and easing into getting the economy fired up and working and getting that on the move. And so as we move to that, there are local restrictions which are really, really strong, draconian, some people would say. So the 1st of April, 2nd of April today, it sees us in a very strange place, a very strange place for me, as that it looks like this virus will continue for at least another 6 months. Some people say we're just going to have to live with the virus. So that is something to take on board and contemplate. What is a little bit perplexing, to use that word, perplexing, is within a few hours the government is actually locking down areas, especially areas like Manchester, Leicester, the travelling quarantine implementation. As you arrive back, you've got to go into quarantine, and these things were 4 and 5 hours notice. With the travel quarantine implementation, people had literally a couple of hours to scramble to get a flight to get back from Spain to England, you know. Plus there are people traveling on holidays to different places, and those places themselves might be have the virus. So it's a whole different thing. But then why would you want to travel when most of the places in the world has got the virus? You know, what is it with some people? They think they've got privileges that the virus is not gonna get them, you know. And some of these people are actually in the media, you know. So we're in a whole different kind of ball game at the moment. I mean, later on when I do these video casts, these webcasts, I might have a lot more precise details, but I don't think people want precise details. I'm just talking the way I feel and the way things affect me personally, most of all, and a small proportion of the black community. We're all different, and it comes to this lockdown we had in Manchester, where we had a politician actually, I think it was a mayor, actually went out there and said it was because of the black and ethnic minority people in that area, that's why the virus has flared up again. But so some people are using it as a political device to blame others, you know, and they're continuing with their bad habits, you know, but they're blaming other people for the virus. You see, those same people still think that they have privileges that BAME communities haven't got. So they're expressing their privilege. But I hear the virus does not discriminate, but people do. And that is part of one of the reasons why the black and ethnic minority community is so badly hit, because they're on the lower runs of society. They've got the worst job, they've got the most stressful situation, even got the most stressful family situation, maybe a more stressful personal situation. And you're on the front line. Some of them are on the front line. They are doctors and nurses. These are the one of the groups of people who had caught COVID-19. So this is where we are on the Sunday. So it's a bit upside down. Me personally, I've got to do some long-term planning for the next 6 months, because Christmas is going to be, if you don't do any business at Christmas, your business actually fails. And I have to really, really think about other areas of business to continue, just to pay the bills. We're gonna have the government subsidy for businesses and individuals is coming to an end in a month, at the end of this month and next month. So there's reductions, and some of it is going to cease. So we're going to have a whole heap of, some of the companies are going to let people go, so we're going to have a whole heap of people unemployed. So that's going to add to the whole stress and strain of the job market. And if you're trying to get a job, it's going to be more difficult. And then again, who can create jobs in this kind of climate? So we've got the pandemic, we've got recession, we've got depression. For some of us, we are in double recession. Some of us, we are in double depression, right? So it's going to be a real tough hole to dig yourself out of, if you can just about see the rim of it. Some of my clients, most of my clients in business, because it's the entertainment business, it's the leisure business, but I have to be tougher on them when I come out of this, just in order to make sure that I will be able to keep afloat. Because if anything about this pandemic, it shows the weaknesses in business, it shows the weaknesses in politics, it shows the weaknesses in healthcare, it shows your own personal weakness. When tragedies like this hit, it shows where your vulnerability are. Sometimes it brings out the best in people, and it brings out the worst in people. Do you remember the run on the toilet paper? So we've gotten over that, so, and then we've had people who are very caring, who will deliver food and stuff to people who are in isolation, who are vulnerable, either if you're over 70, or you've got a critical a condition, underlying condition, which will make you vulnerable. So we got good people, volunteers who actually do that. We've got volunteers in the food banks, we've got volunteers who give food. So the best in people comes out, but also the worst as well in people come out as well. So the pandemic just magnifies your character. So if you've got flaws in it, it will show, and it will show under pressure. And many politicians, we begin to see their flaws. The structure and policies of how government works, we begin to see its flaws. So this is where we're at the moment with the pandemic here in London, UK, England, 2020, Sunday, the 2nd of August, 2020.